Did you know dementia can start with signs so subtle that they go unnoticed? We often mistake these signs for stress or aging, but identifying them early can make all the difference. Dementia, and especially Alzheimer's disease, affects the memory, language, and quality of life of millions of people worldwide. In this video, I'll show you 7 early signs of dementia that you shouldn't ignore. If you want to protect your brain and the brains of your loved ones, stay tuned until the end. Let's begin. Number 1. Difficulty finding words. One of the earliest and most concerning signs of dementia is difficulty finding words, also known as aphasia. This sign usually begins gradually, which makes it go unnoticed for months or even years. At first, it may seem normal. We all forget a word from time to time or have trouble remembering someone's name. However, when this happens frequently and begins to affect everyday conversations, it is time to pay attention. People with this symptom often have trouble finding the exact word they want to use. For example, they might refer to a jacket as a blouse or a pen as a stick for writing. Although the intention to communicate is still present, the accuracy of the language is affected. As the condition progresses, it becomes more common to see pauses in conversation because the person needs more time to think about what to say. Another associated problem is difficulty remembering names of close friends or family. This can be particularly alarming when someone doesn't remember the name of a child, grandchild, or very close friend. It can also affect the ability to follow complex conversations as the person easily loses track or needs to have things repeated several times. This symptom is due to the deterioration of specific areas of the brain responsible for language, such as the temporal lobe. As dementia progresses, these regions lose neuronal connections, making verbal fluency and speech comprehension difficult. Cases like that of actor Bruce Willis, who was diagnosed with aphasia, remind us that this difficulty can be one of the first visible signs of more serious cognitive problems. Detecting this sign early allows you to act quickly and seek the necessary help to manage the disease. Number 2. Apathy and loss of interest. Apathy, also known as anhedonia, is one of the hardest early signs to spot because it's often mistaken for depression or just being tired. However, this loss of interest in everyday activities is a key sign of early cognitive decline. The person who used to enjoy hobbies like reading, dancing, painting, or socializing starts to show a noticeable lack of interest in these activities. Imagine someone who used to be the life of the party, actively joining in conversations and family gatherings. Suddenly, this person starts avoiding gatherings, declining invitations, and preferring to spend time alone. Emotionally, they might seem distant, unmotivated, and with a clear emotional emptiness. This change isn't always accompanied by sadness, which makes it different from depression. Instead of feeling sad or worried, the person simply loses the ability to enjoy things they used to find satisfying. This happens because dementia affects areas of the brain responsible for emotions and motivation, like the frontal lobe. As neurons in these regions start to die, the brain's ability to process emotions and generate pleasure diminishes. Apathy can also affect social interaction. The person stops seeking company or having meaningful conversations with friends and family. It's like the spark that used to keep them going is slowly fading away. Family and friends, not understanding what's happening, often misinterpret this behavior as laziness or indifference. However, it's a symptom that shouldn't be ignored. 3. Sensory problems. Sensory problems in the early stages of dementia often surprise many people because they are not always associated with the disease. However, changes in spatial perception, smell, taste, and hearing sensitivity are important signs that should not be ignored. These symptoms occur due to damage in areas of the brain that process sensory information, which causes the person to perceive the world differently. One of the first changes you may notice is difficulty judging distances and moving normally in familiar environments. For example, someone may trip more often, have trouble going downstairs, or misjudge space when parking a car. This happens because the brain has difficulty correctly interpreting visual and spatial information. Another common sign is the loss of smell and taste. The person may stop noticing smells that were once very familiar, such as the aroma of coffee or flowers. Also, food may lose its flavor, leading to a loss of interest in eating or changes in eating habits. Many times this symptom is mistakenly attributed to normal aging, but it can be an early indicator of cognitive decline. Sensitivity to noise is another important symptom. Crowded places like supermarkets, shopping malls, or restaurants can be overwhelming for someone in the early stages of dementia. This happens because the brain has trouble filtering sounds and focusing on a single source of information. Finally, it is important to mention that untreated hearing loss is one of the most important risk factors for developing dementia. Studies have shown that people with hearing problems have a higher risk of cognitive decline because the brain works harder to interpret sounds, which accelerates its deterioration. Number 4. Sleep disturbances. Sleep disturbances are an early sign of dementia that is often overlooked, as it is initially attributed to stress, age, or changes in routine. However, these problems not only affect a person's rest, but they are also an indication that something is happening in the brain. In the early stages, it is common to experience insomnia, frequent awakenings during the night, or difficulty falling asleep. Some people start needing naps during the day because they are unable to get adequate rest at night. This change in sleep patterns may seem harmless, but over time it becomes more evident. One of the most peculiar sleep-related symptoms is REM, sleep behavior disorder. During this phase of sleep, which is when we dream, the brain sends signals for the body to remain still. However, in people with early dementia, these signals fail and the person may move, talk, yell, or make involuntary movements such as kicking and punching. This can even lead to getting out of bed without being aware of it. It is an especially common characteristic in Lewy body dementia, a lesser-known but equally concerning form of cognitive decline. The lack of deep sleep also has a negative impact on brain health. During deep sleep, the brain's glymphatic system works to remove accumulated toxins between neurons, such as beta-amyloid and tau proteins, directly linked to Alzheimer's. Sleeping less than 7 hours interrupts this cleaning process, allowing this waste to build up. This accelerates brain deterioration and facilitates the progression of the disease. Number 5. Changes in posture and coordination. One of the lesser-known early signs of dementia is changes in posture and motor coordination. At first, these changes are subtle and are often mistaken for the normal aging process. However, if you pay attention to the details, you can identify important warning signs. A person with early-stage dementia may start walking more slowly, dragging their feet or taking shorter, more careful steps. This change in gait doesn't happen suddenly, but progresses gradually, making it difficult for the person to move with the same agility as before. In addition to problems with the way they walk, changes in posture can also be observed. The person may lean to one side when standing or even develop a hunched posture, as if they are having difficulty maintaining balance. These signs are the result of deterioration in the areas of the brain responsible for controlling movement and coordination. By losing communication between neurons, the brain has difficulty sending the correct signals to the body, which affects stability and motor control. Tasks that require precision, such as holding a cup, writing by hand, or using eating utensils, can also be affected. At first, movements may seem clumsy or slower than usual, but over time they become more noticeable. This can lead to minor accidents, such as spilling liquids or dropping objects. It is important to note that these changes are not part of natural aging. If you notice that someone close to you has changed the way they walk or their posture, it is essential to pay attention and seek the evaluation of a specialist. Detecting these early signs can help to intervene in a timely manner and offer strategies that improve the quality of life of the affected person. Number 6. Muscle loss. Muscle loss is another early sign of dementia that few people associate with cognitive decline. It's often attributed solely to natural aging or lack of physical activity, but the reality is that there's a deep connection between muscle health and brain health. Several studies have shown that people with less muscle strength, especially with a weak grip, have a higher risk of developing dementia in the future. This relationship is because both muscles and the brain depend on adequate blood flow and functional neural connections. Imagine a person who could once easily open jars, lift heavy objects, or perform tasks that required a certain amount of strength and precision. Little by little, they start having difficulties with these actions, noticing that their grip is weaker and that they're losing stamina. In some cases, these people also begin to walk less steadily or need help getting up from a chair or bed. Although these symptoms may seem like normal aging, they can actually be signs that something is affecting the communication between the brain and muscles. A recent Australian study, which analyzed over 1,000 women over the age of 75, found that those with lower grip strength had double the risk of developing dementia compared to those who maintained their muscle strength. The explanation lies in the fact that muscles and the brain are interconnected through the nervous system. When the brain begins to deteriorate, Communication between neurons and muscles is affected, leading to a gradual loss of strength and mobility. Maintaining muscle strength is not only key to physical health, but also for the prevention of dementia. Activities such as weightlifting, resistance exercises, and regular physical activity help strengthen muscles and improve blood circulation to the brain. This provides essential oxygen and nutrients that keep neural connections active and reduce the risk of cognitive decline. Number 7, trouble managing money and finances. One of the most alarming and noticeable early signs of dementia is difficulty handling money and finances. At first, this problem may seem harmless, like forgetting to pay a bill on time or making small mistakes when calculating change at a store. However, over time, these mistakes become more frequent and more serious, affecting the person's ability to make responsible financial decisions. Early signs may include difficulty remembering payment due dates, trouble understanding bank statements, or confusion when making simple transactions. For example, someone who has always been organized with their finances may start forgetting important payments or buying things twice because they don't remember making the purchase. It is also common for them to have problems planning a budget, calculating expenses, or understanding financial concepts that they previously handled with ease. A worrying aspect of this symptom is that it makes people more vulnerable to financial fraud or scams. Due to problems assessing risks and processing complex information, they can be easily tricked, such as unnecessary subscriptions, impulse purchases, or donations to fake causes. This not only affects their financial well-being, but can also lead to family conflicts and concerns among loved ones. The reason behind these problems lies in the deterioration of the areas of the brain responsible for logical reasoning, planning, and decision-making. As dementia progresses, these functions are affected, leading to increasingly obvious errors. It is important that families pay attention to these changes in money management, as they can be one of the earliest and most visible signs that something is not working well in the brain. If a person who has always been responsible with their finances starts to show difficulties, it is essential to see a specialist for a cognitive evaluation to determine if there are signs of early dementia. These 7 early signs can be the key to detecting dementia early on. Symptoms like difficulty with language, sleep, and coordination shouldn't be ignored. Early detection allows us to take action, improve quality of life, and slow down its progression. If you found this video helpful, give it a like, share it, and subscribe for more content about brain health. Thanks for joining me, and see you in the next video.